The Journey of Joey the Kangaroo. In the heart of the Australian outback, where the sun shines brightly and the land stretches far and wide, lived a young kangaroo named Joey. Joey was a curious and playful kangaroo, always eager to explore the world around him. He lived with his mother, who was called Matilda, and they were part of a large mob of kangaroos that roamed the vast plains. Joey loved to hop around and play with the other young kangaroos. They would jump high in the air, race each other, and explore the rocky hills and sandy dunes. The outback was their playground, full of adventure and surprises. Joey was always the first to discover something new, whether it was a hidden waterhole or a cool, shady spot under a tree. One day, while Joey was playing near a big rock, he heard a rustling sound behind him. He turned around and saw a small, special creature he had never seen before. It had a long, pointy nose and was covered in spiky fur. Joey was fascinated and wanted to know more about this strange animal. He hopped closer, but the creature quickly scurried away into a hole in the ground. Joey was disappointed, but also curious. He wanted to learn more about the creatures that lived in the outback. He asked his mother about it when they returned to the mob. "Mom, I saw a strange animal today with spikes all over its body. What was it?" he asked. Matilda smiled and replied, "That was an echidna, Joey. They are shy animals that like to dig into the ground when they feel scared. The outback is full of many different creatures, each with its own way of living. There's so much to learn and discover if you keep your eyes open." Joey was excited to learn more about the animals of the outback. The next day, he decided to go on an adventure. He wanted to see as many animals as he could and learn about their lives. Matilda was a bit worried about Joey going too far, but she knew that he was growing up and needed to explore on his own. "Be careful, Joey, and remember to stay close to the mob," she advised. With his mother's words in mind, Joey set off early in the morning. He hopped across the plains, feeling the warm sun on his back and the soft sand beneath his feet. As he traveled, he met many different animals. He saw emus, tall and fast, running across the land with their long legs. He watched as a group of dingoes, wild dogs of the outback, hunted for food. He even spotted a group of koalas sitting in the eucalyptus trees, munching on leaves. Each encounter taught Joey something new. He learned that the emus were excellent runners, able to cover great distances quickly. The dingoes, he noticed, were smart and worked together to catch their prey. The koalas, on the other hand, were slow and calm, spending most of their time resting in the trees. As Joey continued his journey, he came across a dry riverbed. It hadn't rained in a long time, and the ground was cracked and dry. Joey felt thirsty, but there was no water in sight. He started to feel worried, realizing that he had wandered far from the mob and was now alone in the vast outback. Joey decided to hop back in the direction he had come from, hoping to find his way home. But as he was making his way back, he heard a soft cry coming from a nearby bush. Curious, Joey went to investigate and found a small Joey even younger than himself, trapped in a thorny bush. The little kangaroo was stuck and couldn't free himself. Joey knew he had to help. Carefully, he used his strong legs to push the thorns away and create a path for the little Joey to escape. It took some time and effort, but eventually, the young kangaroo was free. The little Joey looked up at Joey with big, grateful eyes. "Thank you," he said softly. "I was so scared." Joey smiled and said, "You're welcome. What's your name?" "My name is Billy," the little Joey replied. "I got separated from my mom when I was playing. I don't know how to get back to her." Joey felt sorry for Billy and decided to help him find his way home. Together, they hopped through the outback, searching for Billy's mob. Along the way, Joey kept an eye out for familiar landmarks, trying to remember the path back to his own mob as well. As the sun began to set, Joey and Billy reached the top of a small hill. From there, they could see the vast expanse of the outback below them. In the distance, Joey spotted a group of kangaroos resting under a large tree. Billy's eyes lit up with joy. "That's my mob," he exclaimed. The two kangaroos quickly hopped down the hill and headed toward the mob. As they approached, Billy's mother rushed over, her face filled with relief. "Billy, I was so worried about you," she cried, hugging him tightly. Billy introduced Joey to his mother, and she thanked Joey for helping her son. "You are a brave and kind young kangaroo," she said. "We're lucky to have met you." Joey was happy to have helped Billy, but he was also eager to find his own way home. Billy's mother offered to help, and together they set off in the direction Joey believed his mob was. As night fell, the stars began to twinkle in the sky, guiding them on their way. After a long journey, they finally reached the place where Joey's mob was resting. Matilda spotted Joey and rushed to him, her eyes filled with worry and relief. "Joey, I was so scared when you didn't come back," she said, hugging him tightly. "But I'm glad you're safe." Joey told his mother about his adventure, the animals he had met, and how he had helped Billy find his way home. Matilda listened with pride in her eyes. "You have grown up so much, Joey," she said. "You've learned a lot about the world today, and you've shown kindness and bravery. The outback is a big place, but you've proven that you can handle its challenges." As Joey lay down to sleep that night, he thought about all the things he had seen and learned. He knew that there was still much more to discover in the outback, and he was excited for the adventures that awaited him. But he also knew that no matter how far he wandered, home was where his family was, and that was the most important thing of all. The next morning, Joey woke up to the soft sounds of the outback. The birds were singing, and the air was cool and fresh. After his adventure the day before, Joey felt a renewed sense of curiosity about the world around him. He knew that there was so much more to learn, and he was eager to continue exploring. After saying goodbye to his mother, Joey set off once again. This time, he decided to head towards the dense forest that lay beyond the plains. He had heard stories from the older kangaroos about the mysterious creatures that lived in the forest, and he wanted to see them for himself. As Joey hopped along, the landscape began to change. The open plains of the outback gave way to tall trees and thick bush. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Joey had never been in a place like this before, and it felt both exciting and a little bit scary. Joey moved carefully through the forest, keeping his eyes and ears open for any signs of life. Soon, he heard the rustling of leaves and the sound of something moving nearby. Joey stopped and looked around, trying to find the source of the noise. Suddenly, a large, furry animal appeared from behind a bush. It was a wombat, with a stout body and strong legs. The wombat looked at Joey with a friendly expression. "Hello there, young kangaroo. What brings you to the forest?" he asked in a deep, gentle voice. Joey was relieved to see that the wombat was friendly. "I'm exploring," Joey replied. "I want to learn more about the animals that live here. My name is Joey." The wombat smiled and said, "Nice to meet you, Joey. My name is Wally. I've lived in this forest for many years, and I know it well. If you'd like, I can show you around." Joey was thrilled at the offer. "Yes, please. I'd love to see more of the forest," he said eagerly. Wally led Joey through the forest, pointing out different plants and animals along the way. Joey saw colorful parrots flying high in the trees, and he marveled at the way they could move so gracefully through the air. He also spotted a group of possums climbing along the branches, their big eyes watching him curiously. As they walked, Wally told Joey stories about the forest. He spoke of the changing seasons, the heavy rains that sometimes flooded the river, and the dry spells when water was hard to find. Joey listened carefully, soaking up all the new information. He realized that life in the forest was different from life on the plains, with its own unique challenges and rewards. After a while, Wally stopped near a large tree with thick, twisted roots. "This is my home," Wally said. "I've dug a burrow here where I can stay safe and warm. The forest is a good place to live, but you have to be careful. There are predators here, too, like the dingoes and the large eagles that sometimes hunt for food." Joey nodded, remembering the dingoes he had seen on his previous adventure. He knew that the outback was full of dangers, but he was determined to learn how to navigate them. As they continued their journey, Joey and Wally came to a small clearing in the forest. In the center of the clearing was a large billabong, a small lake filled with clear, cool water. Joey was excited to see the water, especially since he had been thirsty from all the walking. Wally noticed Joey's excitement and said, "Go ahead, take a drink. This billabong is a good place to rest and refresh yourself." Joey hopped over to the water's edge and took a long, cool drink. The water was refreshing, and Joey felt energized. As he looked around, he noticed the reflection of the trees and the sky in the water. It was a peaceful and beautiful place, and Joey was glad that he had found it. While Joey was drinking, he heard a splash and looked up to see a group of turtles swimming in the water. The turtles were small and moved slowly, but they seemed happy in their watery home. Joey watched them for a while, fascinated by their calm and steady movements. As the sun began to set, Wally and Joey decided it was time to head back. The forest was starting to get darker, and Joey knew he needed to return to his mother before nightfall. Wally led the way, and soon they were back at the edge of the forest. Before they parted ways, Wally turned to Joey and said, "You're a brave and curious young kangaroo, Joey. I'm glad I could show you around the forest today. Remember, the outback is full of wonders, but it's also full of dangers. Always be careful and never stop exploring." Joey thanked Wally for his kindness and wisdom. He knew that he had learned a lot from his time in the forest, and he felt grateful for the experience. As he hopped back towards his mob, Joey thought about all the different animals he had met on his adventures. Each one had its own way of living, its own strengths, and its own challenges. Joey realized that there was still so much more to discover in the world. When Joey finally returned to his mother, she was waiting for him with a smile. "How was your day, Joey?" she asked. Joey excitedly told her about everything he had seen and learned in the forest. Matilda listened with pride, knowing that her son was growing up and becoming more independent with each passing day. That night, as Joey lay down to sleep, he thought about the adventures he had experienced and the lessons he had learned. He knew that the outback was a big and sometimes dangerous place, but it was also full of beauty and wonder. Joey drifted off to sleep, dreaming of all the new adventures that awaited him in the days to come. This concludes the story of Joey the kangaroo and his adventures in the Australian outback. Through his journey, Joey learned about the diversity of life in the outback and the importance of being brave, curious, and careful as he explored the world around him.